Join ForumIAS Academy, trusted by hundreds of toppers, including IAS Rank 1 𝐂𝐡𝐚𝐬𝐫𝐢 Sharma.
Hello guys, this is Vijay. Welcome to ForumIAS. In our today's discussion, dated October 3rd, we are going to discuss some 5 articles. The first topic, the narrative of development and populism. It came in the editorial page. Then the second article, the criminal law bills. We all well known about the Bharatiya Samhita Bill, right? So the criminal law bills and the hollow decolonization. So this is the second article. This is also from the editorial section. Then the third article is related to international relations and the article title, Building Bricks for the Future. Then the fourth one is related to Astra BVR missile. Then the last one, this is related to the Nobel Prize for Medicine. So the Nobel Prize for Medicine 2023, it goes to the mRNA vaccine for the COVID, right? So this is the last article we are having. And with respect to the article significance, first 3 articles are highly significant from both pre and mains, and last 2 articles, they are significant only from the aspect of prelims, right? So now without any further delay, let us move on to the discussion part. This is the first article guys, the narrative of development and populism, right? So here the author is M. Suresh Babu. He has been stating about the variety of announcements what the political parties and all have been doing in the 5 states election campaigns, and he has been stating about the drawbacks of the populist measures, and he is telling the political parties what should be the way forward in the future. So this is how the entire articulation had been made. And the context of the article, on September 14, Prime Minister, he launched almost 50,000 crore worth of schemes in the state of Madhya Pradesh. So in the next few months or few days, we can say, we are going to have an election in almost 5 states, right? So political parties, they are doing an aggressive election campaign in the concerned states. So in this context, on September 14th, Prime Minister, he launched schemes worth of 50,000 crore in the state of Madhya Pradesh. Already, the BJP is ruling in Madhya Pradesh, but in this context, because of the elections, the Prime Minister, he came forward with some announcements, and it also included a petrochemical complex. Okay, so the announcement, it also included the petrochemical complex, and in other states like Telangana and all, several opposition parties, they are also throwing variety of promises to the people, like free bus passes to the women, right? Then they had given the promise like they are going to reduce the prices of the LPG. So this is how they have been making the variety of promises. But with respect to the context, we need to know what is meant by populism, right? So any political approach that strives to appeal to ordinary people who feel their concerns are disregarded by established allied groups. So here we are having 2 groups, haves and have-nots. And these have-nots, they are thinking that their concerns are disregarded by the established haves group. So in this context, if any political parties, they are coming up with any announcements means, and meanwhile the announcement, it should garner the interest of such peoples. So if it is due means, then we can term it as a populist measure, right? So this is the term, what populism means, okay? So any interest or any scheme, if it is influencing a large sections of the people means, then we can name it as a populist measure, right? And here it has been given that what is meant by populist schemes. When schemes brought the larger interest or larger sections under its influence means is termed as the populist schemes. As I already told you, whenever, if such schemes, if it is influencing a large group of people, especially their voting pattern means, then we can name it as a populist scheme. Here they had given the example as free electricity to farmers. And in the recent elections, especially in the Karnataka, we have seen that the Congress came to power. And prior to that election, they announced that they will be providing free transports to the women community. But in the post-election timeline, we have been witnessing that they are struggling to meet out the expenditure what they have been incurring in those schemes what they had announced. So in these days, the Karnataka government, they have been facing the deficit finance. Okay. So Announcing the populist scheme alone, it won't be helpful. But we need to tailor the resources for such schemes, right? Then it will take a toll on the people's wealth. So this is what we need to infer from the populist schemes. Then here it has been provided that what is meant by development. So generally, we know very well that the visible assets alone amounts to development, right? So this is how we will be thinking. But it also includes the economic and social development what the government has been carrying out, especially in the sectors like education, health, right? So if the government is providing free education or 24/7 health services to the common man means, we can name it as a development because economically and socially, the government has been empowering the people here, right? So we can name it as a development. But generally, how are we focused on development? We will be looking up for physical assets, right? So the road construction, industries, manufacturing units, right? So this is how we will be focusing. But we need to emphasize more on economic and social development also. So this is what here it has been mentioned, right? And what are the drawbacks we are having with respect to the populist schemes? So guys, here, generally, the governments, both in state and in the central, the governments, they need to emphasize more on the mega projects, right? So actually, they want to showcase their development to the people. So that's what they have been creating the mega projects. In several cases, the mega projects are futile. So this is what we need to accept. So here they had given that the first drawback is hefty toll on environmental cost. So with respect to the mega projects, we are not assessing the economic impacts or the environmental impacts of such projects. So especially here they had mentioned about the cost with respect to the environmental domain, right? For the mega projects, the government, they have been giving the approval. That too in the sensitive areas, right? So in the hilly Uttarakhand and in the Himachal regions and all, they have been providing the approval and the developments, it has been getting skyrocketed. So what are the tragedies we are facing? Recently, we faced the Joshimath town sink, right? So the entire town, it has been sinking. So this is the first tragedy we had faced. Then in the mid of June, especially in the 2023 mid of June, we faced the Kedarnath flood tragedy, right? Then the Chardham Yatra project. So here we have been emphasizing more on the tourism. That is fine. But it should not be on the toll of economy or on the environment, right? We can initiate any such projects, but the price what we are going to pay, it should be minimal. So this is the major concern we are having. And here with respect to the projects, we are paying hefty prices on environment, right? So this is the first drawback we are having. Then the second one, utilities of infra is often doubtful. So this is what I already told you. With respect to the Chardham project, the utility is questioned because here the government has been emphasizing more on the constructions of their roadways and bridges. But we need to focus much on the utility, how much resources we are pouring and what are the benefits we are going to get out of the project. There should be some calculations, right? Simply showcasing the projects alone won't be enough. So this is the second concern we are having. Then the third one, massive debts. Especially with respect to NHAI, they had given the example. In the year 2023, NHAI, National Highways Authority of India, they are having a debt around 3.42 lakh crores. Okay, can you imagine the amount of debt? So right now, India have been owing almost 150 crore debt, 150 lakh crore of debt. Within that, NHAI's share alone 3.42 lakh crores. Okay, so the value they had given that in the year 2014, the same NHAI, it was having 23,000 crore. So almost 15 times we are having a hefty debt on NHAIs. So this is the amount we incurred in the past 10 years with respect to the highway constructions. Then they also listed out the debt service cost. Here also they had quoted that by 2028, the NHAI, it will be having a debt service cost of almost 50,000 crore. Can you imagine? In the year 2014, they were having a total debt of 23,000 crore. But by 2028, their debt service cost alone will be around some 50,000 crore. So every year, without any fruitful asset creation, we are going to pay some 50,000 crore for their debt to what they had created in the past 9 to 10 years. So these are all the few drawbacks which are behind the mega projects or behind the populist schemes what the government has been doing, right? And here the article, it states that in the context of Danny Roderick, he is an economist, and he states that the distinctive trait of populism is that it seeks to represent and speak for the people, which is assumed to be unified by the common interest. So this is what he has been mentioning with respect to the populism. So whenever any schemes, if it is representing the massive interest of the people means, then we can name it as a populism. So this is what he has been stating. Then in the article, they are also discussing about some few basic tenets related to the political populism and the economic populism. With respect to political populism, let's say, if the government is coming up with any enactments or any schemes, especially related to the political domain or any amendment means, if in such cases, if it is influencing the interest of lot of masses means, then we can name it as a political populism, right? So we can say the 73rd, 74th Amendment is also a political populism, but it actually benefited the people. Not all the populist measures are doing good, but in certain cases, some populist measures, it has been taking hefty toll on both in the economic domain, social domain, and on the environmental domain, right? Then here is with respect to the economic populism. So economic populism is nothing but, let me tell you, in the year 1960s and 1970s, what we are having with respect to the investments and all, people generally, they are actually having a negative mindset over the private investments, right? Moreover, the government initiatives also have been promoting the public sector enterprises. So this is how the government also functioned at that timeline. But after certain economic crisis only, we came to know about the importance of the private investments and all. Then after the 1991 reforms, after the 1991 LPG reforms only, we actually regulated the private investments in the country. And in today's context, we are well known how much benefits we had reaped out of the measures what we had taken in the year 1991, right? So whenever any economic measures, if it is influencing a large amount of people means, then we can name it as a economic populism, right? So if the interest is related to the political domain means, we can term it as a political populism. Moreover, if the same interest is related to the economic domain means, we can name it as a economic populism. Here we are having 1991 LPG reforms, and here we are having several enactments which serve the interest of the people, okay? So for that, we can say 73rd and 74th also. But it actually benefited the people, right? So this is what I want to mention here. Not all the populist measures are good, but certain populist measures are exceptionally good, okay? And moreover, in most of the cases, the political agencies or the political parties, they are actually carry forward the populist measures without any calculations. And with respect to the populist measures, we are having several limitations. And it has been given that the interests of the marginal communities are ignored. So for getting the votes or for earning the votes within the society, the political parties, they tend to provide some populist measures. And for gaining the vote alone, they won't be hearing the voice of the minorities. Here, the marginal communities are getting ignored, right? So this is the first limitation we are having. Then the second one, as I already told you, as we have seen already, the populist measures, it may create havoc in social harmony, especially the political populism, okay? So if we are satisfying the interest of the majority population means, then obviously it will be at a cost on the minority groups. So this is what it has been mentioning, okay? And here it has been provided that the failure of conventions of the model of growth. So what is the conventions of the model of growth we are following? If we are lifting someone means, he will lift others in the society. So this is the prime motto behind the private investments. But what actually happened in the 1929 Great Depression? Actually, there was a systematic failure, right? So we all came to know about the systematic failure or the inherent failure in the capitalist measures. So this is what here it has been mentioned. It works on the principle of the trickle-down effect. So let's say we are having factory X, and Indian government, it has been allowing the factory X to establish its units in several states. And they are also constructing several manufacturing units in the several states of India. And in the over course of the time, their turnover and all has been enhanced. But the factory X, it hasn't been providing the satisfied salary to the employees. If it is creating such a case means actually we have been taking a toll on the laborers, right? So here, even after empowering the factory X, it hadn't been empowering the employees. So this is the basic criticism we are having against the trickle-down effect. And the second point, it has been mentioning the same. There are issues in the distributions. So after getting the sufficient resources, the section of haves, they are not distributing the resources to the have-nots, right? So this is the second concern of the conventions of the model of growth. Then lastly, there is a widening gap of inequality between have and have-not. So in the current context, the widening, the resource accumulation between the have-not and the have is extremely high, and in the future, it may also increase. And several reports, it has been stated that the top 1% of the community, top 1% of the people, the creamy layer people, they have been owning almost 70% of the resources in the world, right? So it represents the presence of inequality in the society, right? So this is what the article has been mentioning. And in the conclusion, he has been stating that rather than emphasizing more on the populist measures, we need to do certain calculations with respect to the announcement of schemes or any measures. Then only we can critically or we can effectively utilize the resources what we are having in our coffers. So this is how the author has been concluding, right? Now let us wind up this article here. Let us move on to the next one. This is the second article, guys. The article title is Criminal Law Bills and Holo Decolonization. So here with respect to this article, the author Maitreyi Mishra, she has been speaking about the changes what the government has made under the Bharatiya Samhita Bill and what will be the power allocations and all will be there and what are the drawbacks of the act. So this is what she has been speaking. And the Bharatiya Samhita Bill, it actually introduced in Lok Sabha on August 11th, 2023. So as we all well known, the bill is going to replace the IPC 1860. So the Indian Penal Code 1860 is going to replace with the Bharatiya Samhita Bill. Okay. And here with respect to the Bharatiya Nyaya Samhita, we need to know under the bill we had taken numerous measures to replace the tenets what we had followed so far under the IPC 1860. Generally, the IPC 1860, it was formulated by the colonial British for Ireland. For Ireland alone, they had created a penal code. And they actually kept Ireland as a slave country. And they actually emulated a copy of penal code to India and they named it as an Indian penal code, right? So this is what we need to know. And moreover, with respect to the penal code in the 1860, still there is an existence of the master-slave relations. So this is what it has been emphasizing throughout the tenets of the IPC. Okay. So in this context, the government, it had taken a bold move and they actually formulated a Bharatiya Nyaya Samhita Bill. And it is going to replace the IPC 1860. There are several changes it has been made under the bill and the article, it has been listed out some of them. So the first one, the bill removes the term sedition. As we all well known in the past, the sedition 124A, it has been used by several political parties against their opponents. And in numerous cases, it has been used against the rights of the citizens, right? So under the Sedition Act, the courts and all had been awarded a rigorous imprisonment up to 7 years, up to lifetimes. So these and all had been provided under some false cases which filed under the sedition provisions 124A. So what is meant by sedition? Bringing or attempting to bring hatredness or contempt or exciting dissatisfaction towards the government. So these all actions will be termed as a sedition, and previously we actually filed a case under section 124A. Okay. In the recent context, especially with respect to the Bharatiya Nyaya Samhita Bill, it have been penalizing certain activities. Those are equalizing with sedition. So the first one is exciting or attempting to excite secession or armed rebellion or subversive activities. So we all well known example Khalistan movement, right? So recently the issue has been going on related to the Khalistan Tiger Force and the repercussions are reflecting in India-Canada relations also. So if any such secessionist movements are prevailing in the country means, under that circumstances, the government will be using the provisions of the Bharatiya Nyaya Samhita Bill to suppress it. Okay. So this is the first activity we are having. Then the second one, encouraging feeling of separatist activities. So in any format, in any traditional format or in any digital format, if anyone is spreading the feeling of separatist activities means, then he or she may be penalized, either with the imprisonment or with the monetary penalties. Okay. So this is the second one. Then any such activities, if it is endangering the sovereignty or unity and integrity of India means, then it will also deal with some stern measures under the Bharatiya Nyaya Samhita Bill. So what these provisions are all reflecting? If any such activities, if it is against the interest of state apparatus means, then it will be penalized. Okay. And these agencies, they may also involve exchange of words or signs, electronic communication or use of any financial means. Let's say we all well known the ISI, it has been actively involving in certain activities against the India. And they are actually monetarily equipping some agencies, some private groups, right? So if any such cases, or if you are spreading any hatredness through the digital means, then it will also deal with some stern measures against the Bharatiya Nyaya Samhita Bill, right? So instead of sedition, we are having these provisions under the Bharatiya Nyaya Samhita Bill. So this is what I want to tell you. Then with respect to terrorism, the Bharatiya Nyaya Samhita Bill, it actually clearly defining the activities what amounts to terrorism. An act that intends to threaten the unity, integrity and the security of India and to intimidate a general public or disturb the order. Either it may be social order or it may be in an economic order. If it is amounting to such activities means, then it will be termed as a terrorism, right? And in the new law, we are having several provisions. That too, using firearms, bombs or hazardous substances to cause death, danger to life or spread a message of fear, right? So if any such activities is causing any frightening or any intimidation among the public means, then it will be amounts to terrorism. Then secondly, destroying property or disrupting essential services. This will also amounts to terrorism. And apart from that, they also stated that any such activities which has been listed in the second schedule of Unlawful Activities Prevention Act of 1967. So all the activities which are listed in the second schedule of UAPA will also amounts to terrorism. So they actually replaced the terrorism in the IPC context and they included several provisions in the Bharatiya Nyaya Samhita Bill. So far we have seen what are the acts they actually included instead of the sedition and what are the provisions they actually brought under the Bharatiya Nyaya Samhita Bill instead of terrorism, right? And here, with respect to the Bharatiya Nyaya Samhita Bill, they also listed out what are the activities they are amounts to organized crime. So any such activities related to kidnapping, extortion, contract killing, land grabbing, financial scams. Financial scams means here we can say the Ponzi schemes. So in recent times, we have been witnessing several cases related to the financial scams, right? So since Sharda scam to Neomax scam, we have been witnessing several financial scams in the Indian landscape. So all such financial scams will amount to organized crime and cyber crime. So any such activities against the digital apparatus of the country means it will amount to organized crime. And any such activities to obtain material or financial benefit means then it will also amount to organized crime. If any individual X, if he is perpetrating certain activities to procuring the material benefit or the financial benefit from another person Y means it will amount to organized crime, right? Then the lastly, carried out by individuals acting singly or jointly as a member or on behalf of a crime syndicate, all will amount to the organized crime. So the perpetrator, if he is doing for his own benefit or if he is working for some other's benefit means, then such activities will be termed as an organized crime, right? So this is what related to the organized crime, what they had given in the Bharatiya Nyaya Samhita Bill. And with respect to the bill, he has been listing out certain concerns. These points, we can use it in answer writing, right? So suppose if they are asking us to critically examine the question, means for negative aspects, we can just do a copy paste of these points. So here it has been given that the relationship between the state and the citizen remain the same. So in the IPC, how they had tailored the provisions and all, it actually reflects the master-slave concept. The same has been reflecting in the Bharatiya Nyaya Samhita Bill also. So this is what the author has been stating. Then secondly, all the proposed changes further increase the scope of activities and covered as criminal acts. So instead of narrow down the activities, in the Bharatiya Nyaya Samhita Bill, according to the author, it has been broadened. So this is what she has been making here, right? Then thirdly, she has been stating that it further increases the police powers. So in the second concern, she has been stating that they broaden the scope of criminal activities. If we are broadening the scope of criminal activities, means indirectly we have been emphasizing more power on the policing agencies. So the state police forces and the central police forces, it will be having enormous power against these activities, right? And it will take toll on the rights of the citizens, right? Because there will be some excess of power utilizing by the agencies, and it will be taking toll on the rights of the people. So this is what she has been making here. Then fourthly, she has been stating that there is no scope for police reforms and for the prison reforms. So why we are keeping some person X in prison? Because we need to reform them, right? But what it has been happening actually, they all forming criminal syndicates, right? So if the person X, if he is staying some 5 years in the prison, means he has been developing a well-connected criminal syndicate network. So this is not the intention of the IPC or the Bharatiya Nyaya Samhita Bill. Then fourthly, she has been stating that under the Bharatiya Nyaya Samhita Bill, we don't have enough scope for police reforms and prison reforms. So why we are keeping person X in the reform? Because we need to reform him, right? So the penalization is not the motto of the IPC or the Bharatiya Nyaya Samhita Bill. So the genuine reformation of the people, reformation of the criminal is the motto of these provisions. But if you are thinking in a micro framework, means we will come to know we are not doing any such reform activities. So the criminals, after reaching the prison, they are forming a well-connected criminal syndicates. So this is what it has been happening now. So here she has been making that we don't have any such provisions to curtail those syndicate formations in the prisons. And moreover, we don't have enough provisions to curtail the police excess related to the people and their rights. So this is what she has been making in the article, right? So with respect to this article, we have seen provisions, what they have been inducted related to the sedition and related to the terrorism and related to the organized crime. And what are the arguments against the bill she has been making in the article, right? So this is what we have seen with respect to the article. Let us wind up this article here. Let us move on to the next one. This is the third article, building bricks for the future. So here, with respect to the bricks, we need to know certain facts, right? So BRIC as acronym. BRIC as acronym, it came into existence in the year 2001 by Jim O'Neill. So he is an economist who worked in Goldman Sachs banks, and he only propounded the term BRIC. But in the year 2010, South Africa joined the BRIC, then it became BRICS. And here it has been stated that the BRICS is acronym for the grouping of world's leading emerging economies, namely Brazil, Russia, India, China and South Africa. And here, with respect to the BRICS, several criticisms are there, because within the group, there are repercussions are going between India and China, and because of the Russian-Ukraine crisis, Russia was isolated. So this is how they have been throwing several criticism against the BRIC. But in today's context, BRICS has been representing almost 42% of the global population. And the same organization, it has been representing 16% of the global trade, and 24% of the global GDP. So in the global contribution, the BRICS alone having 24% of its stakes. Okay. And in the year 2001, as I already told you, British economist Jim O'Neill, he coined the term BRIC to describe 4 emerging economies. And in the year 2010, South Africa, they became the official member in the BRICS, and the organization became BRICS thereafter. And in the recently concluded, the South African summit, they announced that they are going to expand the membership to another 6 countries. And these countries are Egypt, Iran, Saudi Arabia, UAE, Ethiopia, and Argentina. So with the inclusion of another 6 countries, it is expected that the representation of the G7 will be reduced in the international arena, and the voice of the BRICS, it will be boosted. So this is what the expectations has been thrown by several economists. And the full membership related to these 6 countries, it will come to effect in the year 2024 from January 1 onwards, right? So this is what we need to know with respect to the BRICS. And in the article, he has been stating that the BRICS, they have been actually following a pattern which is alternative to the polarized global geopolitics. So till 2000, the global geopolitics, it was dictated by US and some Western powers. And moreover, with respect to the economic domain, the World Bank and IMF, these Bretton Woods institutions, they actually dictated the countries. Even India fall prey to the initiatives what the IMF was decided, right? So in the today context, we are having BRICS, and we can increase the global south clout in the international arena. So this is what the author has been stating here. And under the BRICS, we are having a NDB, the New Development Bank. And it is expected that in the future, with the inclusion of another 6 countries, the member countries in the BRICS will come to be around 11. And here, the Iran, Saudi Arabia, and UAE, and Egypt, these all countries are oil powers. So with the inclusion of these countries, it is expected that in the international arena, the face value of the BRICS is going to increase, right? So the growth of the alternative currencies and economic models and all will come to existence because of the BRICS conglomerate. Then the third one, the continent of future Asia and the Africa. So several countries in the Asian landscape and in the African landscape, they are in a developing state. But they have been representing in the international arena at a minimum level, right? They don't have any such voices in the international arena. The BRICS, it will act as a platform for such countries, and it will represent the interest of these countries in the international arena. So this is what the author has been stating. Then, with respect to the migrants, we all well known how the Western forces and the US and all have been dictating another countries related to the human rights. But with respect to migrants, we all well know how hypocritic they are, right? So actually, they won't be providing due respect or due rights to the migrants who are moving towards Europe and North America. But with the inclusion of another 6 members into the BRICS, it is expected that in the future, BRICS will be providing voice to the representation of the migrants who are moving towards Europe and to the North America. Okay, so it is expected that the migrants who are moving to the Europe and the North America and their rights and all will be ensured with a better participation of BRICS in the international arena. So this is how the author has been representing his viewpoints over the BRICS. And here, with respect to the article, we can use these points to write the significance related to the BRICS in the answer writing process, right? So let us wind up this article here. Let us move on to the next one. This is the 4th article, guys. IAF likely to induct Astra BVR air-to-air missile by year end. So this is the article title. And the Indian Air Force, they are going to place some 2 contracts with Bharat Dynamics Limited for procuring the indigenously developed Astra beyond visual range missiles, right? So with respect to the Astra Mark 1, they are having a range around 110 km. And right now, we have been using R-77. So these R-77 missiles, they are having a range up to 60 km. So in the beyond visual range category, we are having only 60 km and 110 km range missiles. So that is R-77 and Astra BVR. Whereas the Pakistan, they are having F-16 fighter jets which are procured from United States, and they are using AMRAAM missile. Okay, so they have been using AMRAAM missile, and these AMRAAM missile, they are having a range almost 160 km. Okay, so if the Indian fighter jets, if they are trying to lock the F-16, means then they need to keep the distance almost 60 km between the Indian fighter jets and the F-16. In that meanwhile time, the F-16, they will fire the AMRAAM missile against the Indian fighter jets, right? I hope you would have imagined the disadvantages what we are having with respect to the air-to-air missile system, right? So the AMRAAM, they are having 160 km range, but Astra and R-77, they are having respectively 60 km range and the 110 km range. But it is expected that the Astra Mark II will be having a range greater than 160 km. So if we are starting to procure the Mk2 missiles means, then safely we can do an attack against the Pakistan F-16 fighter jets. So this is what I want to tell you. And moreover, the Astra missile, we can fit the Astra missile both in the Sukhoi fighter jets and in the upcoming 𝐂𝐴 right? And this is with respect to the article. And moreover, I want to tell you another one fact. The Astra, it hadn't been developed under the IGMDP program. So Integrated Missile Development Program, it was launched in the mid of 1980s, right? So under that, we actually developed so far 5 missile systems. So these 5 are guided missile systems. One is Prithvi, and this is Agni, and this is Trishul, and this one is Nag. This is an anti-tank missile, and this is Akash. Akash is a surface to air missile, okay? So this is an anti-air missile. So Agni is a ICBM, okay? So these are the 5 missiles we have developed under the IGMDP, but Astra, it is not a part of IGMDP program, okay? So this is with respect to the 4th article. Then this is the last article. Medicine Nobel 2023 goes to duo who paved the way for mRNA COVID vaccines. So generally, we need to know what is meant by mRNA. So mRNAs are messenger ribonucleic acid. So we all well known about the DNA, right? This is a part of cell and nuclear proteins. And the DNA, after tracing the presence of antigens in the body, they will be sending a message with the help of mRNA to cytoplasm. And the cytoplasm, it will secrete the protein according to the message. Okay, but with the pandemic, the governments, they don't want to create any DNA related vaccines because it will be having repercussions in the cell protein of the entire humanity itself. So that's what they avoided the DNA based vaccines, and they emphasized more on the mRNA based vaccines because mRNA, it will be acting as a temporary messenger and it will trigger the cytoplasm to create the protein against the spike proteins of the COVID-19 virus. So this is how the mRNA vaccine and all have been functioning. So here with respect to the mRNA vaccine creation, the Nobel Committee, they had awarded a Medicine Nobel Prize to 2 members. One is Kathleen Karikó and another one is Drew Weissman. So these 2 members, they were awarded with the Nobel Prize for Medicine for the year 2023, right? So this is with respect to the last article. And now let us wind up this article here. Let us move on to the question section. So this is the mains question for you. Critically examine the populist schemes in India and express your opinion about its sustainability in the long run with Indian-centric examples. So in today's discussion, we had discussed some vital examples related to the populist scheme, right? So you can quote these examples here and you can conclude the answer according to the question stem, right? So this is with respect to the mains question. And this is the prelims question for you. This is related to the mRNA vaccine. And the first statement, it won't be creating genetic errors in DNA. So here we are going to create mRNA alone and it won't be having any communications with the DNA. So the first statement is right. Then the second one, mRNA vaccine results in blockages in arteries resulting in cardiac arrest and heart failures. So this is wrong. And this was the rumor which is spread against the mRNA vaccines. Okay. So this statement is wrong and it hadn't been scientifically proven. Then the third option, it will require more time than manufacturing DNA based vaccines. Actually, compared to the DNA based vaccines, mRNA will be requiring very small time. So the third option is also wrong. So according to the answer elimination, only one is right. The first one is the right one for question number 1. Then this is related to the Astra missile. With reference to the Astra missile, it is a BVR missile. BVR means beyond visual range. So with respect to Astra Mark 1, we are having 110 km and Astra Mark 2 will be having above 160 km range. So this is the right one, and it was developed under IGMDP. As I already told you, under IGMDP, we had developed Patna missiles. So Prithvi, Agni, Trishul, and Nag and Akash. These are the 5 missile systems we had developed under the IGMDP and not Astra. So the second one we can eliminate. Astra Mark 2 will have a range above 160 km. This is also true. So 2 statements are right. Second one is the right one for the question number 2. Finally, we are arriving at the end of the discussion. I hope you would be liking this discussion. Kindly press the like button and subscribe the video to your friends and subscribe to ForumIAS in all social media platforms. Let me catch you in another discussion tomorrow. Signing off, Vijay.